This is page 53 in your math journal. Please put it in the corner. We're going to give this one the title of Greatest Common Factor. For short, they use the acronym GCF. Greatest common factor. Okay, so when they ask you to find the greatest common factor, well, first you need to understand what the greatest common factor is. Okay, let's break the words apart here. Greatest means largest. Common means shared. If you have something in common with somebody, like let's say you both like Pokemon, that is something you share in common. So it's something shared. And then yesterday we talked about what factors were. Factors are numbers that divide evenly into another. So the greatest common factor is the largest shared number that will divide evenly into all the numbers that you're talking about. So the largest shared number that will divide evenly into all numbers. All the numbers, because not all numbers, but all the numbers that you're talking about. I'm going to use the number sign just for space here. Okay, so I want you to remember that the greatest common factor will always be smaller. So I'm putting this in all caps. Always smaller or equal to the original numbers. Okay, in order to be a factor, it needs to be able to divide evenly into it. Since I need to divide evenly into it, then it has to be equal to it or smaller. So we're going to practice finding the greatest common factor, and we're going to use the method where you just list all the factors and then you find the largest one that goes into both. We're going to find the greatest common factor, so GCF, of 24 and 60. Alright, let's list all the factors of 24, and this is where what we were doing yesterday, the rainbow method, will help. So remember to leave space so that you can list all the factors. So we have 1, and 1 times what gives you 24? Well, 24. Okay, next 2. I know 2 will go into it. 2 times 12. 3 will go into 24. 3 times 8. 4 will go into it. 4 times 6. And then 5 would be next, and 6 is here. 5 won't go into 24, so that tells me I am done. I have some space in here, but that's not a big deal. Okay, 60, let's list all the factors of 60. 1 times 60. 2 will go into 60 because it's an even number. 2 times 30. 3 times 20. 4 times, and this one you might not get right off, but if you're questioning it, do 60 divided by 4, see if it works, and it will, and you get 15. If you're not sure, divide it. If it doesn't go in evenly, it's not a factor. 5 will go into 60. Divide 60 by 12 and you get, or by 5 and you get 12. 6 will go into 60 10 times. 7, if you question it, divide 7 into 60. It won't work though. 8 won't go into 60. 9 won't, and there is 10. So there's all my factors of 60. Okay, this can be kind of time consuming, especially if you accidentally miss some factors. In this case, we do have all of them. Now we're just going to look at all the ones they share in common. Well, I can see 1 they share in common, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. And from there, I don't see any others that they share in common. So 12 is the largest of these common factors. So my greatest common factor of these two numbers is 12. But you can see how it's the largest. Okay, sometimes we can do it of 3 numbers. So we'll try 3 numbers in a minute. We're going to skip a line, and I want you to find the greatest common factor of these two numbers. Let's find it of 15 and 16. Okay, let's list out the factors of 15. 1 times 15. 2 won't go into 15. 3 will. 3 times 5. 4 won't go into 15, and there's 5 already. So that's all the factors of 15. 16. 1 times 16 is 16. 2 times 8. 3 won't go into 16. 4 will. 4 times 4 is 16. Oh, and that's it. Alright, so let's look at all the common factors here. We have 1. No, 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 nothing else. Okay, the reason I picked these two numbers, sometimes the greatest number that will go into both numbers is 1. There's always a greatest common factor. But if you can't find anything else, it's going to be 1. So the greatest common factor of these two numbers is 1. Okay, that is one way to do it, and it works nicely if they're small numbers like this, but sometimes you get larger numbers, like 24 and 60. Notice how we had to list a bunch of factors before we finally found the biggest one? I'm going to teach you something called the ladder method that will help you find it easier for these larger numbers. So once again, we are going to find the greatest common factor of 24 and 60, but we're going to do the ladder method. So I want you to skip a line, and I want you to write ladder method. This will be also helpful for tomorrow's lesson. So remember so when you're doing the ladder method, I want you to write to find the greatest common factor. You multiply the stars. Now it'll make sense in just a minute. Alright, we are going to find the greatest common factor of 24 and 60. We already know it's 12, but I'm going to show you how using this method proves it. So, we're going to do 24 and 60. Okay, now the ladder method, what you want to do is you want to find something. When there's only two numbers, you have to find something they have in common. If you can't see anything else they have in common, it's going to be 1. But here, they're both even, so I know 2 goes into it. Or, if I wanted to go bigger, the bigger number you know, the easier it is. Like, I know both of these are multiples of 6. So I'm going to write a 6 over here, and I'm going to put a star by it, because 6 goes into both 24 and 60. Now, if you didn't see that 6 went into it right away, by the way, this is part of my ladder line, so I'm just going to write that there. It's not a 1. So 6 goes into 24 4 times. 6 goes into 60 10 times. If I did maybe 2, I might just have more on my ladder, but I would eventually get the right answer. Okay, now I try to look at these two numbers. Now is there something that goes into both 4 and 10? There is 2, so I'm going to write a 2 and put a star by it because 2 goes into both of those. Okay, now divide by 2, move on to the next part. 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 10 5 times. Is there anything that goes into both 2 and 5? 1, but if I keep doing 1s, I could do 1s forever and it's not going to change anything. So, since I've already got some other stars here, I'm just going to draw a line here telling me I'm done. And now I'm just going to multiply the stars together. So in this case, 6 times 2. And 6 times 2 is 12. The greatest common factor of these two numbers is 12. Well, we already found that up here. But this one took a little bit less effort than listing out every single factor. Okay, let's try another one here. Let's do 14 and let's do a couple numbers. I'm going to show you how you can do it with 3. So let's do 14, 21, and 35. Okay, is there something that goes into all 3 of these numbers? Okay, 7 will go into all of them, so I'm going to put a star here. And 7. Okay, 7 goes into 14 2 times. 7 goes into 21 3 times. 7 goes into 35 5 times. Now look at 2, 3, and 5. Do you see anything else they share in common? Nope, so I'm just going to draw a line here. And my greatest common factor in this case would just be 7. I don't have to multiply 7 by anything else because it's the only star. Alright, we're going to try another one. We're going to do 20, 16, and 32. So 20, 16, and 32. Okay, looking at all of these, they're all even, so I know 2 will go into it. So I'm going to put a star and 2. 2 goes into 20, 10 times. 2 goes into 16, 8 times. 2 goes into 32, 16 times. Okay, now I look at these. Is there a number that will go into all of these again? Once again, they're all even, so 2 has to work again. 2 goes into 10, 5 times. 2 goes into 8, 4 times. And 2 goes into 16, 8 times. Now, is there anything that will go into all 3 of these again? No. However, with this ladder method, it will be helpful for tomorrow. I'm going to teach you how to complete it. Here, I do have something though that will go into at least 2 of these numbers. So 4 and 8 both share a common factor of 4. So I'm going to put a 4 over here. But notice I'm not putting a star. That's because it doesn't go into all of them. The stars are only if they go into all of the numbers. I'm going to put 4 there. And since 4 won't go into 5, I'm just going to write 5 here. 4 goes into 4 1 time. 4 goes into 8 2 times. Now, 5, 1, and 2, now they share absolutely nothing in common with any of them. That tells me I'm done with my ladder. I'm going to complete that. Now I'm going to multiply the stars together, so it'd be 2 times 2, which is 4. So the greatest common factor of this set is 4. Okay, we're going to try one more. Let's do 12, 15, and 10. Alright, is there anything that goes into both 12, 15, and 10? Okay, 2 will go into those 2, 5 will go into those 2, but there is nothing that all of those share in common except one number. You always need at least one star. And if you can't seem to find anything, then you know there's one thing that will always work. 1 divides into all of them. So if I divide by 1 here, then I still have 12, I still have 15, and I still have 10, which is why we don't want to write a bunch of 1s over here when we've got other numbers that will work. However, if there's nothing else that will work, remind yourself that 1 is a factor, and we'll go into it. So now I'm looking for something common between at least 2 of them. Well, 3 goes into both of these, so I'm going to write a 3 here, but notice no star. That's because it doesn't go into all 3 of them. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Oops, I didn't mean to draw that line there. Ignore that for now. 3 goes into 15 5 times. And 3 does not go into 10, so I'm going to write 10 down here. Okay, extend my line, and I'm looking. Is there something that goes into both 4, 5, or 10? Well, 5 and 10 share something in common, 5. 5 won't go into 4, so I'm just going to write a 4 here. 5 will go into 5 one time, and 5 will go into 10 2 times. Okay, now looking at that. 4 and 2 still have something in common, so I'm just going to extend this down. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 1 1 time, and 2 goes into 2 1 time. Now that I'm down to here, they share nothing in common except for 1, and I'm not going to do the 1 anymore because I'll just keep repeating myself over and over again. So, now I'm done with the ladder. Now for the greatest common factor, I'm only interested in the stars, and my greatest common factor of these 3 numbers is 1. The only thing they share in common is 1.